How you get around in life is determined on the things that you do, but how do you get there? A philosophy is a theory or attitude that acts as a guiding principle for your behaviour. And what does your behaviour dictate? Your actions which dictate your outcomes. So let's talk about a philosophy. Let's talk about objectivism. Now, who hasn't heard of Ayn Rand? Okay, so a little bit of background. So she's a Jew who was living in America many years ago, and she wrote a book called Atlas Shrugged and another book called The Fountainhead. And this is where it was a beautiful work of fiction, and she elucidated her principle of objectivism in philosophy on how we should live a life. It talks about reality being what it is, okay? It talks about we can't wish it away, it just is that, okay? And we have the tools of reason, which allows us to take reality and get knowledge from our mind and our reason, which is not coming from our emotion or mystical senses, things like that. Now, because we have a reason, so we can make decisions and make choices that, affect us as individuals, so that our moral purpose and the thing that we actually are aiming to do is actually guide our own life to achieve our own happiness. And they call that in this philosophy rational self-interest. You've probably heard of rational self-interest. When I talk about rational, I mean using your objective mind to say, what's the best thing in the situation for me? And another example of rational self-interest is when you're on an aeroplane and they're going through the safety demonstration. What do they say you should do with your oxygen mask before you do for someone else? Fit your own. Because how are you supposed to help someone else if you can't even help yourself first? So this is what this is all about, is achieving your own happiness so that through that you can help other people. We want to embrace life and achieve your fullest potential so you flourish as a human. So important. Now, if we apply that to politics, your freedom and liberty to pursue happiness requires a limited government, and it will protect our rights and protect from coercion, but otherwise leaves us alone. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. For us to be flourishing as humans, for us to work hard to become who we should be, so then we can help others. Now, how do we apply this to healthcare? So let's look at it through the lens of objectivism. So in that sense, if we were to use this philosophy as a dictator of our actions, we would now make sure that we would see something in a free market. So what does that mean to us? What does it actually do? Well, we would have no government intervention because we want a limited government. So the government doesn't tell us what to do. It doesn't tell us what drugs we should take. It doesn't tell us what we should eat. Because we see, like, for example, the food pyramid, right? With all your grains at the bottom and, your fats at the top. We know now that that's actually the inverse of really what it should be. So, but we're told these things because there's an incentive. But if they take that all the way, we then must become informed. We have to take responsibility for our actions. We have to find out. Now, the point is the competition should drive down prices, increase innovation and quality in healthcare. And the point was that if you take care of yourself and you stay healthy and you bother to make the right choices, you should be rewarded because your insurance premium should go down. Just like if you're a good driver, does your insurance premium stay low? If you keep crashing your car, does your insurance premium go up? Right, makes sense? Because we've got to have the insurance now. So we've got to make sure we tailor-make it for ourselves. What is a reality? So we understand certain things that are happening, and there's some things that we choose to ignore and choose to do. We know that, for example, sugar is a really big part of cardiovascular disease. We know that it's something that will eventually lead to our demise. Diabetes is one of the highest, diabetes type 2, highest growing undiagnosed conditions in the Western world. So these are reality, and we can eat all the, the donuts and cream puffs and everything we want. We can keep ignoring the reality, but eventually it will catch up to us, and we will have to face the consequences of that. We can't ignore that. We can't shift it. We deal with this if we see in the system if it's like this. So 80% of disease is lifestyle related. So again, it comes back to choices and what's the reality of the choices we're making. Because we want to create an environment of responsibility, and right now those who are responsible and don't need the government funding are taking care of those who are responsible. So in a socialist healthcare system, let's take Canada for example, 42% of every dollar that they spend goes into their healthcare. And I know a few Canadians, I'm very familiar with that, and so they pride themselves and say, yeah, healthcare is free, it's fantastic. And yeah, of course it is, because they put so much money into it. But the point is, what happens if you were, Tracy, to make all the right choices? You eat all the healthy foods, you exercise, you get adjusted, you take care of your spine, you do all the things that you're meant to do, and you stay healthy, and you're still paying that money into a system that you don't use, but other people who are irresponsible and don't make the right choices, so who's paying for them? You are, right? So not only is that inefficient because it goes through a bureaucracy which obviously drives up prices and slows it all down, but you're paying for stuff that you're not even using. Does that sound Well, something you want to do? No. So again, the questions I asked earlier, it's the same thing, right? But it comes down to what is the reality of your situation and what are the actual choices that we're making and the actions that we're getting out of that. Now, what are our outcomes? What's the biggest thing missing today in society? And the biggest thing is actually rationality and using our mind to think about this. Because for some of us, it's simply just easier to avoid that and just keep going along the way we're going, because it's really uncomfortable to make a change. If someone told you the world was in fact round and when it was, you thought it was flat, well, for you to then change all, your perception of everything might, be a little uncomfortable. You might have to change a few things that you do. You might have to change some behaviours. We evade the information when it's inconvenient because often it's the emotional context. In objectivism, we talk about using your rational mind and not letting the emotions deal with it. There's a big debate, and we talk about vaccination. We talk about immunisation. When we talk about that, we're trying to be rational, but it becomes very emotional and it all breaks down. Whatever it happens to be, you need to make good choices based on research so that you can take responsibility and stand behind decisions and say, yes, I've actually examined my life, I've examined the choices I'm making, and I'm happy with it, and this is what I want. Now, what if we actually use reason? We might find that it doesn't matter what it is. So if we talk about food, it doesn't matter what it is that tastes good. It doesn't matter if it feels nice, because that's irrelevant. Is it right for me? Does this work? Is this the reality? Okay, unless we examine it, we don't know. What does reality tell us about the body's requirements? Okay, we find out what those are and create strategies to help us fulfill those requirements, and therefore health flourishes. So when we truly use our mind and think about these things, we find there are things that we can do. Dr. Aaron said if there's a strategy you can do, one thing to be healthier tomorrow, and same thing in a week, in a month, in a year, this is what those things are to help their health flourish. And we know at Bonfire, we talk about health being the product of fulfilling the 4 basic requirements of health through our day-to-day actions. And what are they? Moving well, thinking well, here we are. Thank you, Petra. And of course, making sure the thing that runs the whole lot, the nervous system, is working optimally. I just want to show you an X-ray. This is one of my beautiful patients, and she's an absolute inspiration to me. She came to me on a disability pension, multiple surgeries. This is her back, and if you have a look at this, you would expect these to be level. You would expect this to be straight up and down. You might even expect the blue line to be like this, but we see here as red. Can everyone see what's happening just here? Does this look a little bit chewed on, for want of a better word? Okay. So she came to me with a long history of tingling down the arms, numbness, shooting pains in the legs, headaches, dizziness, migraines. The list goes on. So I took her in and we're taking care of her, and so many of these things are changing. The numbness is coming back. It's coming back to the source. She can feel her hands. She doesn't have the shooting pain in her legs anymore. So many big changes. And it's been simple, it's been gentle, been slow and effective, but we're getting there. She's had this for 15 years. Now, I said to her, okay, well, this is the reality of the situation. What's happening? Now, she's 45 and she's been having these things go on for a while. I said, you've got a daughter. She came in with her to help go over it. She's 18. I said, well, if you don't know what's happening in your daughter's spine, we should find out. What's the reality? Have we examined this? This is her daughter. Does this look similar to you, just without the chewing? Let me put this side by side. This is a mum and a daughter. Mum's 45, daughter's 18. Does this look similar? Is this kind of like looking into the future? Is this kind of like examining the reality of our world, regardless of what we want to stick our hand in the sand about, and saying, geez, I better make a change because the outcomes long term aren't going to be so flash? So thank goodness for that we have the opportunity to get checked, to see these things change. Really powerful stuff. Now, I just want to leave you with a little story. What can the Chinese teach us? Lots of stuff, right? The Chinese? Maybe. So in traditional Chinese medicine, they had the village doctor, and he would be paid, and this is many years ago, a retainer when he kept his village and people healthy. His retainer was withheld when someone got sick. So his job was most effective, and he got paid the most when he kept his people healthy, okay? Rather than waiting until something went wrong and then saying, okay, let's do something about it now. He was considered less of a doctor if they had to resort to surgery, because of course that meant they haven't done all the work, all the things that they should have beforehand. So the Chinese can teach us a lot. And they combine Western medicine with Chinese therapies in their hospitals in China, and the results are remarkable. Why can't we do that here? Why can't we do that now? So I'll leave you with a thought on objectivism. Apply rational thought to your own lives and your own health. And if you haven't checked yourself, get checked. Find out what's going on. Don't just stick your head in the sand.